Have you ever stopped, just for a single second, to notice the exact moment you transition from an inhale to an exhale? In our noisy, high-speed world, we are almost always rushing. Tensing our jaws, clenching our fists, running toward a future that hasn't even arrived. Without realizing it, we trap our breath high up in our chest. It becomes small, cramped, anxious. But think about a newborn baby or a resting animal. Have you ever truly watched them breathe? Their whole belly rises and falls. Complete surrender. Perfect harmony. At some point, when we outgrew our diapers, we lost that natural rhythm. We literally forgot how to breathe. What if I told you that the key to unlocking your physical, emotional, and spiritual health isn't in doing more, but in finding the pause? The discontinuity. That magical, silent gap between your breaths. When we become truly conscious of our breath, the restless mind calms. The tension melts away. The life force, the prana, the chi, floods back into our bodies. We stop just surviving, and we finally start living in the pure miracle of the present moment. Today, we are going to rediscover the miracle of your own aliveness. We are going to relearn how to breathe. Are you ready to find the space between? Let's begin.
Chapter 2. Conscious breathing and discontinuity of breathing. Conscious breathing. The first step in healthy breathing is to become conscious of how we actually breathe. From the perspective of the world's great spiritual traditions, our breath not only brings needed oxygen and other gases to the physical body, but it can also bring, when we are conscious of it, the finer energies, prana, chi, and so on, needed to help to nourish our higher bodies, the subtle body, causal body, and so on. Whatever we may believe about our soul and spirit, our breath, and how we breathe, is intimately connected with all aspects of our being. Tension in life and breathing. In today's noisy, high-stress world, we sit, stand, sleep, speak, act, and move in ways that undermine our breathing and our physical, emotional, and spiritual health. When we look at ourselves in action, when we actually sense and observe ourselves honestly for a moment, we see that we carry enormous amounts of unnecessary tension throughout our bodies. We may sense it in our hands, face, eyes, jaw, tongue, throat, belly, back, chest, and so on. Even tension in our feet can undermine our breathing. These tensions can and often impede the natural, harmonious movement of the diaphragm and its coordination with the secondary breathing muscles. They also impede the harmonious flow of the breath of life through our body or mind. We can do all the breathing exercises in the world, but if we don't begin to see and free ourselves from the unnecessary tensions that we carry day in and day out, if we are unable to find a state of dynamic relaxation in the midst of daily living, these exercises won't do much good. In fact, without such relaxation and without real self-knowledge and self-awareness, breathing exercises can often exacerbate the tensions already present and create dangerous biochemical and physiological imbalances in our body or mind. In beginning to study these unnecessary tensions in ourselves, which are generated in large part by our mostly unconscious attitudes toward ourselves and others. One of the most useful situations with which to begin is when we find ourselves in a hurry, which, for many of us, is almost all the time. Condition of breath. Next time you catch yourself rushing through your life on the way someplace other than where you are right now, and this can be a mental or emotional rushing, as well as a physical one, sense your entire body and pay particular attention to your breathing. What does your breath feel like? Does it feel open and spacious? Most likely it feels small and cramped. Ask yourself if this is really how you want to live your life, always tensing towards something to be done or enjoyed, or something you believe will be better in the future. Yes, the future is important and we all have plenty to do on its behalf, but what's the point of all this doing if we don't actually feel and appreciate the pure miracle of our aliveness, our being, right here and now? What's the point of all of this activity if we are not open enough to receive and appreciate the life force flowing through us and others and the rich scale of impressions and perceptions that come with it? It is only through a constant deep-felt appreciation of the value and miracle of being itself that our lives will take on real meaning, that our relationships with others will become imbued with intelligence and compassion, and that we will find effective solutions to the ever-growing problems we face. Release of tension. If we are constantly filled with unnecessary tension based on judgments about the past and expectations about the future, our breath will remain cramped and disharmonious, we will never discover what it means to be truly human, and our lives on this planet will only get worse no matter what brilliant strategies we devise or how much force and aggression we use to put them into action. To see and release the unnecessary tensions that fill our lives, and to allow the breath of life to manifest fully through us and others, begins with sensing and observing ourselves at this very moment, paying special attention to the tensions that propel us through time, as well as the inner attitudes that fuel them. It begins with being present to what is, without any self-deception. Discontinuity of breath. This is the beginning of real transformation, both for us personally and for the world. And it all begins with awareness of the breath. As we are in consciousness or awareness of breath, we will find that breath is always in continuity, but each breath is coupled with discontinuity. As we understand the discontinuity in continuity of breathing process in the realm of existence in life, we will be able to monitor our stresses and tensions more judicially and enhance our happiness. Awareness. One of the safest and most powerful breathing practices or exercises you can undertake is to consciously follow your breathing in the many changing circumstances of your life. As you inhale, simply be aware that you are inhaling. As you exhale, simply be aware that you are exhaling. Try this exercise for 10 minutes or so at a time, at least 3 times a day. It will help you to free from your automatic thoughts and emotional reactions and thus enable you to live with more receptivity and clarity in the present moment. You may find this exercise especially useful at moments when you are anxious or angry. With roots in Buddhism and the other great spiritual traditions, this is a wonderful practice for both beginners and advanced practitioners. In a nutshell, this exercise works mainly through us withdrawing our attention from distracting thoughts and redirecting our attention to the physical sensations of the breath. By doing so, we are putting less energy into the emotional states of restlessness, anxiety, craving, and ill will, etc. that drive those thoughts. Over time, the mind becomes calmer and our emotional states become more balanced and positive, and our experience becomes more positive. Right way of breathing. Furthermore, most people tend to breathe in a slightly abnormal way. They tend to hold in their stomachs, make little use of their diaphragm. They breathe using the muscles of their upper chest, neck and shoulders. This is not the most effective way to get the needed oxygen to our brain and muscles. If we watch babies or animals breathe, we will notice that they breathe with their whole bodies. Their bellies rise and fall with each breath. For some reason, we stop doing this when we outgrow diapers. No one really knows why. The good prospect is that we can relearn how to breathe properly, learning to breathe using our abdomens. This can help us control our feelings of stress. In fact, abdominal breathing is the single most effective strategy for stress reduction. A person's normal breathing rate is 8 to 12 breaths per minute. However, if someone is stressed or he is under panic attack, he tends to breathe faster, up to 20 to 30 breaths per minute, but more shallowly. In other words, discontinuity in breath is reduced since number of breaths is increased. Although we may seem to be breathing more when this happens, we are not actually getting much oxygen in, and the breathing is not as effective as it could be. Abdominal breathing means breathing fully from abdomen or from the bottom of lungs. It is exactly the reverse of the way we breathe when we are anxious or tense, which is typically shallow and high in our chest. If one is breathing from his abdomen, he can place his hand on his abdomen and see it actually rise each time he inhales. Extension of discontinuity interval. In this way, consciously one can increase discontinuity in breathing. We can experience that abdominal breathing helps us to relax anytime we are feeling anxious. In short, conscious and proper breathing and extension of discontinuity interval in breathing are very significant to have the feeling of relaxation in continuity of existence in realm of life. In fact, consciousness of breathing automatically enhances discontinuity in breathing, number of breaths is reduced. This is the key of relaxation.